What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Procreate tutorial where of course we're rolling with the Halloween theme and we are creating this ghost, smoky kind of ghost-like design today. As always, make sure to go ahead and grab all of the requirements from the link in the description down below. That will take you over to a post on my Patreon and you can grab the guide, the palette, the canvas size, and then everything else is built into Procreate. You won't need anything else. We are using the 5.4 brushes today, so you need to make sure, should I say, that you have those available to you. And as always, when you're done, tag me in your finished creations. And when you are done, check out my Patreon, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month that are not available here on YouTube. They're only available on Patreon, and I have a catalogue now of over 150 exclusive tutorials over there. Again, only available on Patreon, so check that out using the link in the description down below. Enjoy today's tutorial, and let's get started. So as you can see on my canvas, I've gone ahead and added the guide in my layers. I've simply tapped on it and tapped on rename and called it guide. And to add the guide, just go up to your actions, go to add and insert the image by going to add and insert it from your photos or your files, depending on where you saved it to. Now the guide, we're going to go ahead and adjust in a second, but for now, let's go to our background color. Let's then grab the color here, top of the second column from the right, and then hit the tick. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and tap on our guide and invert it just for a minute. So now it's white rather than black. And then we can tap on it and just bring its opacity down, bring it down to around about, say, 30%, just so it's nice and sort of opaque. And then from there, we can go ahead and create a new layer, drag it underneath the guide as always. Go to your colors. You want to then grab the color. Let's grab the darkest tone first. Let's grab bottom right of the palette. We want to go to our brush of choice, which is going to be under oils. And we want to use the Orca brush. I've got the size set to 100%, opacity maxed out as well. And we're just going to be able to add in some lumpy, bumpy shapes. So I'm actually going to bring it down a little bit to about 50%. Now, I also want to go ahead and go up to my actions and go to canvas. I want to go ahead and add a drawing guide. I want to edit the drawing guide. Tap on the grid size and change it to 1/4 of your canvas size, so 500, and hit done. And then just drag your color so it's white as well and hit done, or hit the tick. That way you can get an idea for where I'm laying things out. You can also see on the guide as well, there are certain elements, and I want you just to sort of tap and push around a little bit over here on the left and a little bit in behind our subject as well, just to create like sort of bushish like shapes. And you can add paint and then smudge it around, and by all means hold down on your smudge and then smudge it as well, just to create some like wispy-ish shapes and kind of fluff it up a little bit. And then you want to just simply go ahead and make your brush size maxed out, go left to right across the bottom here, just to sort of pack it in. And then as you get sort of around and in behind your subject here, just sort of, as you can see from the guide, just kind of fill it in. You don't have to fill in everything though. You can leave gaps and little sort of edges. That's perfectly fine. You don't need to block out the whole thing and get it too close to the subject. So just a little something like this, just to get us started. And we're just creating background elements. So we'll create a new layer, drag it underneath our last layer. We'll swipe from left to right on both of those though and group them together, and we'll just call it BG. So we'll rename it, call it BG, collapse the keyboard down. Then on the bottom layer, go to your colors, grab the middle of the far right column. So a little bit sort of more saturated now. Size I've gone up to, what's that, around about sort of 50, 60%. And in a similar fashion, we just follow the guide and we just add in a little bit of blue. These are just like background trees or woodland, etc. It's just very, very simple. We're not overthinking it, not overcomplicating it, just using varying amounts of pressure and whatnot just to kind of fill it out, add in those background elements. Again, feel free to grab your smudge tool as we just did a second ago, wisp some of them around as well if you want to sort of smudge them out. And maybe that's a bit too much. I pressed with a bit too much pressure there, but just to soften them here and there, wherever you feel is necessary. Then go back to your layers, create a new layer. And then because we're in a group, just grab the bottom layer here and then drag it above. So then this new one here sits at the bottom. So we're at the bottom layer. We'll go to our colors. We're going to grab the color in the top right of the palette. And then similar fashion, we've got one more set of kind of hillside area to create. And that's going to be like up here. And they're going to be super simple. We're just going to sort of basically run in like diagonal lines in towards the center. And we add like a little bit of a lump maybe on this side. And there we go. We've got kind of like staggering layers a little bit further back. Then at the top of this group, we'll create another new layer. We'll go to our colors. We're going to grab this color here, top of the column on its own, this yellowish orange tone, top of the 4th column from the right. Your brush wants to be changed to basic, and we want the Forester brush, basically a soft air brush. If we make it nice and large, we've got around about 40% there. We're then going to go ahead and just triple check we are on our new layer, and we're just going to go around in a kind of circular motion just over here, top left of our palette, or canvas, shall I say, just to add in like a little bit of an orangish glow, because our light source is going to be coming from that left hand side. We want to make sure it's got some just glow across the screen a little bit, so a little bit of orange across. You can just keep it nice and faint, and then from there we're going to go ahead and create a new layer. Now, to be honest with you, that layer might want to be a little bit more saturated, but we'll work it out later. Now I'm going to drag it down so it's second from bottom, and then grab the bottom layer and drag it above. It's so awkward when you're in a group sometimes. While we're here, just to make sure we make life easier on ourselves, we'll create another new layer. So we've got 2 layers at the bottom here. Now your very bottom layer, tap on the blend mode and change it to add. Keep the same color, same brush, but you just want to make sure your brush size is a lot smaller. I've gone down to around about 10% just to get me started. That looks okay for now. And then in this top left quadrant, I'm going to go around in a circular motion, and look how I start to reveal, if I go around and keep getting lighter as I get further away as well, the light source and where it's coming from in behind. You can kind of just trickle that down a little bit behind the hills. And then I'm going to go ahead and on the layer above, tap on that and change it to add as well. And then we'll just set the brush size down to 5%, so it's a little bit smaller. And then we're just going to find where we want our light source to be. It's kind of like a moon potentially at night, just kind of this orangish vibe, just sort of poking out from behind the trees. Now, for me, I don't particularly like the positioning of that. I could perhaps go ahead and push it like into this gap here, circular motion, just see which one fits best. I initially had it over here, so I might have to do some tinkering just towards the end. I'll go around in a circular motion, just kind of build that out. That looks better. I like the positioning of that one a lot more. And then I'm just going to go to that layer above, the one that we made all the orange on. I could swipe it to the left and duplicate it, and then tap on the top one and just bring its opacity down so I can just load in like a little bit more of it. So I'm going to go in ahead and add an extra 15%, and I'll simply pinch the 2 layers together. And there we go. We've got that lovely orangey glow top left of our palette. Now it's time to get into our subject. So we're going to go ahead and collapse the background down. We'll create a new layer in front. We'll go to our colors. We're going to go ahead and grab this color here, top of the second column there. Your brush wants to go back to oils and the ochre brush. Size is going to vary, it's going to fluctuate. I've got it down to around about 32%. You can see our guide here for our shape of our ghost. Now, what's really important is we have this kind of teardrop-like shape here. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. It comes all the way across, and then you have like the shoulders here of the ghost and the flowing motion of it. So we want to go ahead and try our best to kind of give the top of the kind of the sheet almost of our ghost. So let's go down to about 37%. And just, if you use this brush and keep layering it in, you'll end up building up the lovely kind of oil paint kind of aesthetic. Now you can go over the eyes, that's perfectly fine. But we want to kind of avoid this mouth area. And what we want to do is ideally kind of start by the mouth and push down, or vice versa, push up and end at the mouth. Especially here where we've got this bit of the sheet just running across. And then you can kind of bring in another swoop line down like that. I can vary the pressure. I can vary the size as well. I'm going down to 20% now. And then I'll fluctuate that back up to about that 30% mark just to create the top of the head. Now don't worry again about the eyes. Rotate your canvas if you need to where applicable, just to make it life a little bit more comfortable for you. And then just keep filling in the head. We're almost creating, looks like we're creating like a fringe, doesn't it? Down towards the mouth. And you can see those kind of jagged lines. And that's what we want to try and just use the head of the brush for. And then make sure you have at least one on the side that kind of swoops down past it. So like it swoops down right on the edge of the mouth. So what I mean is we've got one here and one here. And that gives us kind of the edge of the face. Now, don't worry about your line work for now because we're going to chop into it in a second. These lines here potentially might get sort of changed up and switched up in a minute. I'm going to bring the brush size down to about 18% so I can bring in some much needed kind of smaller lines in here. And it's this edge there that I just want to kind of add in a bit more color to. Let's get back up to 25, if not a bit bigger. Let's go a bit bigger, about 35, 40% there on the brush size. Just trying to make sure that the top of the head's got some good colour in it. There we go. And then we will do the shoulders. So let's set that to about 25%. You want to create like a little bit of a kind of flick out. And then like from there you can go whoom, straight down. There we go, lovely. And we'll set some faint lines running in there. Vary your pressure. You know, have some of the sort of the It's a ghost that I imagine is like a bed sheet kind of ghost. So you can layer in the color and then create all the kind of flow of the material into there. Bring that down. Lovely. And then we'll do the one over here. And as I mentioned, don't get too precious over here, especially because we are going to be hacking away at this in a second, sort of deteriorating it a little bit. Let's go 30% now. A couple more streaks in here. Bringing that sheet round. And we should actually have some really lovely flow already happening in the material. And again, just feel free to kind of run in some more if you feel it's necessary to give that kind of swooping action motion. A couple more into there maybe. That's lovely. Awesome. So we then want to go ahead, as I said, start to kind of deteriorate it a little bit. So we're going to hold down on our eraser. That switches it to the exact same brush, and then you can just start chopping away. So with like a 15% brush size there, this side over here, we've got a light source here. It's going to bathe onto the side of the ghost. So in this kind of groove here between the body and the kind of arm area over here, I really want this to be a little bit darker. So about 25% on the brush size. I'm going to start swooping in here and try to kind of deteriorate it a little bit, kind of going at slightly different angles to the ghost initially. And I can bring the opacity down to 50% if I don't want to hack away and get rid of absolutely everything. But we just want to deteriorate it. We want to have that kind of a little bit more of a, maybe a bit of a broken kind of bed sheet almost, that kind of cuts and little holes in it perhaps. Let's do the same here as well. I imagine that in this groove over here, I can chop through that. And if you make sure your brush size is smaller than the brush stroke you're cutting through, you can make some really awesome effects and leave some residue. I always call it residue because it's like what's left over. And I can just sort of keep hacking away through those lines. You don't have to hack away too much either. If you really liked what you did, keep it. Don't be afraid to make it your own. I always encourage that, if anything. But it's that droopy, swoopy, holy kind of look that I want. And then I'm just going to kind of flow out from this corner here, because again, I want the sort of main body to kind of have its own separation. And we can always draw stuff back in, so don't sort of be afraid to sort of take away, but also get back in there and add some more. So that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the kind of swooping of it. We're then going to just do exactly the same down here. So I'm going to cut straight across there. I'm going to cut straight through here as well, trying to create some more grooving. But we do want this body here to have some lovely solid color to it. I've gone down to an 8% here now, just so I can create some new lines here and there. And, you know, we are going to go up and into this top area too. So swoop that down into that kind of groove there. There we go. Look at that. We're slowly getting that lovely sort of edgy look to it. Now the mouth, we can go ahead and perhaps emphasize a little bit more. To be honest with you, I probably need to actually go back to my brush, which I've just done. And with the brush size maybe around about, say, 14%, I could probably add in like a little bit of purple along kind of the mouth line, which would then give me enough area there to actually then go back in with my eraser and now start hacking away at it. Because I don't want this to be like a solid purple line by any means at all. I want it to have like that kind of perfect, but yet imperfect kind of cut away into the bed sheet. And the mouth will look up and down, up and down. Turn off your guide, you know, just to triple check how it looks. And feel free to, again, keep jumping between the brush and the eraser and try and create like a bit of a kind of jaggedy kind of line here, almost as if we're like to a degree carving a pumpkin, but we want that kind of hole in there where we've got some sharp angular lining, which then makes it sort of resemble a little bit like we've got some teeth in there. So we're just going to keep some more cuts coming up here. We are then going to bring back in the guide because we've got the eyes here that you can see. They're very simple to do. I've got the eraser set to 13%. I'm just going to go ahead and draw one line into like a center point. So let's just retry that again. One line in there, one out to there, and then one down from there. Curved triangular shape. This eye over here, tiny bit bigger. Maybe even got like sort of 4 lines to it a little bit more because it's a slight angle. And then turn off your guide. You can see the really cool ghost-like effect that we're trying to curate here. And you can see all your little bits of lighting. And then just keep looking at it, seeing what you may or may not want to sort of take away. Add in like very, very small cutaway lines in here. You know, and bold might look quite well and like effective. So see what you can maybe curate by hacking away at these. And as always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations when you're done. I love seeing your finished creations. I get so many tags and I do my best to take a look at every single one of them, but I love to see what you end up coming up with for your variations. It's fantastic to see your artistic input into your own work. It's brilliant. So yeah, make sure to tag me in those creations. Now at this stage, we then want to go ahead and just simply make sure our brush size is really small, about 2%. And we just want to kind of give a little bit of eyeliner almost around the eye here, just to kind of sharpen ever so slightly, but also make sure that the color is quite bold in here, you know, just around the eyes perhaps. And there we go, should have some nice big solid cutouts. Now from here, we can go ahead and start to see how our ghost is materializing, because we can go ahead and go to our layer, create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask it. We're going to go ahead and go to our colors again and grab the orange, and we're going to grab this color again, top of this column on its own, top of the fourth column from the right. Brush, go back into basics and the Forester brush. Set that size to around about, say, 12%, just ever so slightly around this top left-hand side. We are going to add in the glow that's coming from our little moon, and you're just going to build it up layer after layer onto the shoulder here on the rear as well. You can make the brush bigger or smaller, however you like, just to get that color in. And we get a little bit of orange rolling, wrapping around. We're not going to add any over here because the color simply wouldn't, and the light, should I say, wouldn't come across that far. We just want to give ourselves a lovely little bit of a glow coming from the moonlight. Now what we'll also then do is go ahead and create another new layer, tap on it and clipping mask it as well. Go ahead then and change the blend mode of this new layer to add. Bring that brush size down, probably down to around about 5 or 6%. And then you can just get right up against the edge. You can see how far out I am in terms of drawing actually on the ghost. I'm just going to blend in like a bright edge, and then just a little trickle of it on the top of that shoulder as well, just to give even more sort of dual tone lighting to it. Now what I actually will then do is as well, is I'll bring the brush size down to like a 2%. I'm just going to give a tiny bit of like a glowy line here on the bottom areas of the eyes, just a tiny bit. It will make sense in just a second. Now we're going to add some glows to the eyes, so we want to go ahead and be underneath the ghost. So we'll create a new layer, drag it underneath the ghost, go to your colors. We're going to go ahead and grab this color here, top left of the palette. Same brush, you need like a bit of a glowish circular shape in here, so I think 7 or 8 could be too big. Let's go for 5. That's still way too big, sorry. That's around about 3 perhaps. And we want to go around in a circular motion, sort of in towards the middle of this eye, and build up the orange. You can get back in here in a second and add some more. And then again, a little bit more orange in this eye too. And I'm going to go a bit bigger again, just to kind of tap a few times, just to add in the glows on top of that. And then I'll go a bit smaller to about 2%. Add in like a little bit of a sort of orange central kind of point inside the ghost. And then we will go ahead, create a new layer. Tap on it, change the blend mode, of course, to add. Go to your colors, middle of the first column. Get that brush size nice and small, around about 1 to 2%. We're going to add in the lovely little glowy eyes. And these are quite important for your positioning, so try to get them kind of nailed on. You kind of want to put one around about here, and then a little bit sort of downward facing and over here as well. Zoom out, take a look at what you've got. Wow, that looks cool. And then we're going to go ahead and just add another one as well. So we're going to just simply swipe it to the left and duplicate it until you end up with these very, very glowy, piercing eyes. I think they look awesome. Now we're also going to go ahead and introduce a hand in here as well. So we're going to go above all of our layers here, create a new layer underneath the guide, and turn on the guide as well. We're going to go to our colors, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to grab this color here again, top of the second column. Brush wants to go back into oils and the ochre brush. Size, let's see what a 5% does. Let's go a bit bigger than that. I reckon around about the 10 to 12 should be quite good. Now we want to draw in the hand. It's going to come in from this sort of central point here. So I'm just for a moment going to go 15 and kind of push outwards, to create almost like a palm. And then it doesn't matter if you end up with like just sort of speckly kind of edges over there. It's perfectly fine just to kind of flow the palm of the hand out like that. Then around about maybe 15%. I'm going to go down this finger here, and I'm going to go across, and I'm going to come down with a claw. So we're kind of creating like a claw-like shape. So that comes across there, across and down, and you can connect them together, and you can add in additional paint strokes. We don't necessarily want to connect it necessarily to the palm too much, but it's just about creating the kind of fingers. And I've given you all the lines there that you need to in order to actually just facilitate that and just add in the actual shapes. You go a bit bigger, like 20%, and maybe just add in like slightly larger few little ones here. We just want to make sure that this one overlaps this one, and then you can make that one a bit bigger. We are going to hack away at this in a second, so all we're doing right now is just kind of getting the paint on, and then we can just take away from it in just a second. Now, the one thing to make sure we do actually is create a new layer and drag it underneath that layer. If it clips itself, just tap on it and unclip it, and then go to your colors and grab the color in the bottom right of the palette. Then go to your brush, go back to basics, and we just want to create like a shadow underneath. So basics and Forester again. Let's go to around about that 6 or 7% brush, and then just go in behind your hand and darken it up. This is really important because it gives you the separation between the elements. So now I can kind of just sort of mask off that little bit of the kind of shoulder and the arm just stretching out perhaps, or the hand stretching out from the arm. Now we then want to go ahead and go back to our layer above, grab our eraser because that's the one we were using, and we can just sort of trickle away. Now you want to leave kind of the top edges a little bit brighter. So I've got a brush size, or an eraser should I say, of like 8 or 9%, and I can just hack away into some of these areas here. Like I can really kind of let the finger really get quite disconnected from the palm there. I will definitely disconnect this finger from the finger here as well, just so it's got a little bit of kind of separation. Then I just need to make sure I hack away at this finger in behind, and then there we go, just trying to break them up, leaving kind of the top to left hand side ish edge a little bit more brighter, giving us a little bit more of a nod towards the general shape here. For example, here you've just got a few little lines of residue that just kind of give you the nod to say, oh, okay, I understand the scale now of the whole hand, but I don't need to see the whole of it. It doesn't need to all be in view. So likewise here, we'll just really chop away at it here, away from that kind of palm, leaving those sharp edges on the top. This one on the left, you might want to keep a little bit more of this one over here, because then it has that separation between it and the body in behind, but that ghostly hand just sort of creeping out like so. And that looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I think the palm could maybe do with like a bit of smudging maybe. So like if I bring the brush size right down to like 12% and just kind of smudge down and into there, just kind of softening it and also swooping it kind of out as well, giving it that soft look to it. And you might want to swoop. You might want to smudge. That was smudge and swoop at the same time. Smudge and swoop some of the hand lines here, softening them up, but then leaving the edges like really kind of sharp and painterly as we've been doing. So like a little bit more soft from the center of the hand. Now we also want to go ahead and add in some lighting to this as well in a similar fashion. So we just create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask it, change the blend mode from normal to add, go to your colors and grab the top of that fourth column from the right. Brush, basics and Forester is perfect. Set that size down to about 3%. You just want to kind of give a nod to the fact that the moonlight, if you want to keep calling it a moonlight, Halloweenish light, just catches ever so slightly on the edge of the hand as it trickles across onto our subject. You could even be quite technical and kind of get rid of, add in a little bit of lighting on top of this part as well, just to really separate it, bring it forward. There's loads of room for adjustment, but I think I'm going to go back down to my main ghost again, and I'm going to turn off my guide just so I'm not getting any other lines interfering. And I'm just going to make sure I go back to my eraser and just start hacking away a little bit more from just this area here in behind the hand. I want to make sure it can easily be digested and understood that it's kind of reaching out from underneath the cloak, which now by taking away and leaving less here, I think that does exactly the job it's meant to do now, which looks much nicer. Awesome. Now, one thing you can then do is go to your ghost and actually swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Then the one here that's got everything still clipped to it, tap on it and clip it to the one that we just added below. And you can tap on the blend mode of this additional one above and change it to color dodge, which will give you a much more kind of vibrant, more white aesthetic to it. Might bring it a little bit closer to the foreground as well. So it's totally up to you. You can, because this is a clipped layer, just simply go ahead and sort of tone it down where you feel is necessary. You could even, for example, tap on this and add a mask to it. And then on the mask with your color set to black, brush, basics and forester, set that size to around about 18-20%. Just sort of blend it out at the bottom so it's really faint at the bottom, your new color dodge layer, and it's only vibrant towards the top edge. And then that way you end up with a much more sort of white, bright face of your ghost instead. Optional, completely optional. We'll probably tweak it towards the end should we find anything else that we can do. Let's add in some ghostly kind of mist at the bottom here. So just underneath your guide, create a new layer, turn on your guide for a minute, and then the empty layer here that we created, we'll go to your colors and grab the top of the fourth column. You can keep your brush as the basics and forester, and you want to sort of probably bring your opacity down if you struggle with it. I'm going to keep it 100% because I'm quite okay at keeping the pressure nice and light. Size around about 9%. Really, really lightly, just here. I'm slowly going to start to build in some really light white lines, and I'm wiggling and I'm curating kind of ghostly kind of, almost like it's going to be like a graveyard as such kind of vibe with like that kind of smoky, ghostly like kind of lining. So just very, very light just to start with. And then as you can see, I'm slowly adding a little bit more towards the foreground right in front of us. However, it's really important that we add in a little bit like here, just around the base, a little bit of a curved line. You can see that curved line there, just a little bit above that around the base of the ghost. That'll be really important in a second. And then a little bit of kind of extra color here. Then on the same layer, we can go back to our brush and go to oils and the Orca brush and just bring your opacity down to like 50%, size around about 38%. And you just want to kind of probably a bit bigger, and then keep your pressure nice and light. And then you can just slowly build in some oily like sort of little areas of mist and fog almost at the bottom here. Now don't worry if you get any lines that look particularly kind of solid, it's no problem at all. We're going to adjust them shortly anyway. And slowly but surely, if you keep your pressure nice and light, you do want to be building up some color towards like the foreground, so it's going to get a little bit brighter. So I'm putting some around the base of the ghost here, a little bit over towards the left hand side. Leaving gaps is quite important because you do need the dark color a lot of the time to make the mist and the fog etc actually work, because otherwise it's just a white blob. So you just want to add in some more, and then pressing a little bit firmer here right towards the foreground just to add in little bits of additional kind of fog. Pressing a little bit firmer. There we go. Look, I'm even tapping now to add in and really layer it in. A little bit more around the base of the ghost, maybe even like the odd trickle up it. And then you want to go ahead and grab your smudge tool. With your smudge tool still set to oils and the Orca brush, you can now start to smudge these out. So you can probably make your brush size a bit bigger, around about 36%. Soft pressure just to smudge it around, and it really will smudge as well. Like you'll be able to create like wispy, look at that, wispy kind of shaping. And if you press a little bit firmer, you'll be able to sort of really get it going in here. And just circular motions all over the place just to create random trails of it. But especially in these like softer areas, you can really smudge them out and they'll look lovely and soft, but still have a little bit of that kind of oily look to it, which I think looks pretty cool. So we're just going to keep smudging this in here and bringing in some darkness from the bottom there by pressing quite firm in order just to kind of break down the area. Now, the one important area is right down here at the ghost. I want to kind of whip it round like the ghost and kind of show momentum as if the ghost is launching towards us. So I want to kind of just curate like lines like that are moving around. So I'm whipping them round the back there, but also trying to push these lines out of the way as if the ghost is flying towards us. And you can smudge out, don't forget, but you can also smudge in. So you can literally get rid of it by pushing back in from an empty space and then push it back out again. So 16%, you could make the brush size a bit smaller and create like purposeful lines just moving away from the ghost. Cut in, as I said, like from a blank space, like here maybe, and just create momentum as if the ghost is flying towards us. And we can keep curling the lines round and keep taking our time just to do that. It will take a little bit of kind of practice, to be honest with you. So just, really honestly take your time with it. Like just get that whipping round the side there of the ghost. I want it to, again, look as if it's launching towards us with some momentum. And that's easily done when you've got something like wind-like elements, like fog and etc. It just makes it so much more aggressive and so much more energetic, because it shows you momentum, it shows you movement. Now, of course, you can always go ahead and go back to your clouds, grab your eraser, set your brush size a bit bigger, and, you know, chop away at them if you feel like it. And then again, get back in with the smudge to kind of fill the gap, but you'll have less color in here. So you'll end up with like a lovely dark patch in the gap there. Take your time to really, you know, break up your design. It's not always perfect first time at all, especially when it comes to smudging like this. So if I can just really defeat that big foreground area here, breaking it down, making it a bit smaller. But I want to also create that cloudy kind of look to it. So I still want to sort of make sure it still sits there, but I want to give swirl and motion. So yeah, lots and lots of potential. Now, you can also go ahead and grab the layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. And if you tap on the top one and change it to overlay, you'll get a little bit more of a kind of purpley look to it. Completely optional. Again, you don't have to add it in. It does make for quite a bright sort of foreground area here. So you will need to potentially then say, well, if it's going to be this bright, I need to create another new layer underneath my cloud lines. Grab my brush, tap on my brush and go to basics and forester brush, and maybe do a very large, about 30%, kind of very light kind of gradient up the back there. Because then what that will do is that will just help these lines kind of fade out a bit more. So they end up with a softer edge to them. It's not like cloud, 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 boom, dark background color. You know, this light tone at the foreground now allows the clouds to move, or the smoke to move as it wisps away. So yes, our ghost. Are we done with it? I think I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing I would probably either think about is if you select all of the ghost layers and we group it together, and then we tap on the group. We don't need to rename it. We can just collapse it down. If you grab your cursor and you use something like warp, you could then potentially like drag out the bottom, squeeze this in a little bit more if you wanted to get more and more kind of reaching shaping to your ghost. You could squeeze it around, really sort of push the shape of the ghost backwards and forwards. And if I tap on my cursor there, I've just created a bit more sort of motion towards it. There we go. It's like a little bit more leaning forwards, a little bit more aggressive. Now, I do like to keep a lot of the extras in, so I'm going to go ahead and tap on my cloud layer here. I'm going to tap on it and add a mask to it. Because the light would have been coming across from the rear there, I'm going to go ahead and start to just use the brush set to forester. I'm just going to sort of take away a little bit of those lines just here, right there, as if that's casting a shadow. They're still present, of course, because we've still got them there, but very lightly just trying to take away a little bit of those in that area. That should then give us a bit of a break up at the foreground. I'm going to turn off my drawing guide now because I'm really happy with that. I'm going to pinch with two fingers, go full screen with 4, and we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. As always, make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them, like Instagram and Facebook. Come and join my Facebook group, actually, while you're thinking about it. There's a link in the description down below. And as always, come and check me out over on Patreon, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month to my Patreon supporters, and the catalogue sits at well over 150 exclusive tutorials that are not available here on YouTube. They're only available on Patreon. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you like this video here on YouTube, you'll love this one on the screen now. Thanks so much for watching.